The Honest Garage Podcast, where real shop owners tell real shop stories.
Today on the Honest Garage Podcast, we're talking with a shop owner who didn't just buy himself a job. He's trying to build a franchise-level operation on purpose. Our guest today is Alex Jones, owner of AutoWits in Scottsdale, Arizona. AutoWits is a full-service auto repair shop that's been a trusted name in the community for years, handling everything from routine maintenance to major mechanical repairs for domestic and import vehicles out of their Scottsdale facility. Alex's path into this world is anything but typical. He retired from professional basketball in late 2022, moved into real estate investing, and then took a big swing that didn't pan out, losing money in a Turo rental venture. Instead of backing off, he doubled down on learning business the hard way. In April 2024, he and his father purchased 70% of an existing auto shop, stepping into ownership with a former owner still holding 30%. That minority partner eventually left on less than great terms and is now with a shop nearby, adding yet another growing pain for Alex to have to navigate. Since then, Alex has been rebuilding, getting the shop back in shape operationally. He's implementing EOS, the entrepreneurial operating system from Traction, running a book club with his leadership team, defining core values, and working off a vision traction organizer that includes a 10-year target of $100 million in top-line revenue, 33 locations, and 15% net profit. He sees his current Scottsdale location as a prototype for a much bigger platform, and he's building it with a heavy focus on culture over productivity, hiring slow, firing fast, and bringing lessons from the locker room into the service drive. In this episode, we're going to dig into how a former pro athlete thinks about buying and scaling a shop, what he's learned from a rough partnership breakup and a big financial loss, and how he's using systems, culture, and long-term vision to play a bigger game than just keeping the bays full this week. Alex, welcome to the Honest Garage Podcast today, man. How are you?
I'm good. Thanks, David.
Good. Appreciate you taking the time to be a part of the show.
Yeah, it's the first time for me, so give me some grace, but I'm excited.
Yeah, we're excited to have you, man. And we'll start you off with a bit of a softball question that's fun for some of our listeners and people in the industry. As of today, at least, what's your dream car and why?
The Cadillac Escalade V.
Okay.
Yeah, I love that thing. It's like a tank. Yeah, and I have a family too. So we had a Cadillac, and then my buddy got the V, and that thing was sick. I just like it because I have a family of 5, right? So we drive a Tahoe now, so it's just got all the room for everybody. But sounds good, feels good, drives good.
That's awesome, man.
I want that.
That's great. I know we have a lot of family men on the show, family men and women on the show, and that's the first mention of the Cadillac Escalade in that question. Don, love bringing that into the fold.
Not just the Escalade. Like I had one of those. Not just that one. The V specifically with the Corvette engine in it. That thing was sick.
A little bit of family room and some fun to drive, huh?
Yeah.
Nice, dude.
I would drive that even if I didn't have a family.
There you go. Awesome. So I know your path is different from the classic story that we tell on the show regularly, where most of the shop owners grew up in a bay and have been wrenching since they were young and all this other stuff. You retired from professional basketball, did a stint in kind of real estate. Walk me through the journey. What made you decide, after everything you've been through, I'm going to buy a shop. We're going to go all in the auto repair industry. Why here?
It was just a series of events. It wasn't like I sought it out or anything. My last couple of years in basketball, I was trying to think of ways I could make money after basketball because I could see the end coming. So I was into real estate, but I was also considering just like buying cars and then having them rented out while I was in Japan for my last 3 seasons. But my wife would never allow me to do it because she didn't want people driving our cars around. And then one day she read this thing on Instagram after I retired that we should buy a car and rent it out on Turo. And then I was like, all right. And then that night we went out and bought a car because I was like, I want to do it. Let's just try it. And I knew that it probably wouldn't work, but I just wanted to try something. And I don't really They didn't really care if it worked or not. And then we just got like in deeper. And then one of my business partners wanted to join and he threw in some money. So we just ended up with 15 brand new cars right at the height of the used car market. So it's like, if you remember that period where used cars were selling for more than new cars. Yeah. So my plan was just to run them for a year and try to get some money back at the end and just like profit. That as soon as I bought the last car, the used car market tanked, and I'm just watching myself lose this race with depreciation. And so I had to pay to buy them. I had to pay to sell them. I lost a ton of money. But in that process, I had to get a mechanic to work on these cars. And I bounced around and finally found one that was decent and very cheap, which is huge in Turo. So I stuck around with him. He was an older guy. He told me he wanted to retire soon. We got to talking. One thing led to another. I offered to buy in. He taught me how he did business for about 18 months. And then I decided to go off on my own. But the lessons that I learned from him over the last 18 months were I couldn't have started this without that.
Yeah. And that's great. I think it's good to learn the lessons where you can learn the lessons. And talk to me a little bit about what you learned in that first business venture with Turo in terms of the business side of life that you're applying to AutoWits today.
I don't ever want to build a business model on a depreciating asset again. Or I went really fancy right away and I went really big right away. I'd like to start out small in the future, and maybe I'll be on the cheaper end of things. So I'll buy cars at auction, fix them up, and then rent them out for the minimum. And just that seems to me to be the path for a lot of the successful Turo fleets. It's not really like a classic or like I don't know. This is just my experience too. So some people on here might think that I'm totally dead wrong on this, but I bought nicer cars, nicer, newer, expensive cars, and I couldn't rent them out for what I thought that they were worth. So I learned that I probably should have done my research on what people were doing on Turo before I just went out to the dealership and bought a car right away. So I guess I learned don't get excited and start something. Yeah. Do a little bit of research. And don't build a business on a depreciating asset unless you have a lot of equity in it.
Yeah, I think some of that stuff's really important, especially for some of the newer business owners out there. As entrepreneurs, we get excited and we have a higher risk tolerance than most of the time. So we're willing to bite on something that feels good. But I think
that's another thing
slow down and do the research.
Because I need to surround myself with no people, because otherwise I'll just go do something.
There you go. How do you? I know you stepped into the situation with another shop owner where you're at now with AutoWits. Talk to me about the transition with the buyout and what that transition's looking now for the team, and what are your plans moving forward?
So briefly, the original owner was very much, he had his hands in everything. He didn't really have a system or processes written down. He gave discounts how he felt that day. He didn't record discounts, so you couldn't really tell the pricing. It was very difficult to try to mirror his pricing because I didn't know what he was doing most of the time. Even though we had a standard labor rate, prices would just be all over the place. Every time I tried to standardize, I got pushback. And then there's the customers that he had brought along with the way he did business that were used to that sort of treatment. And there weren't really... There weren't the boundaries that I was comfortable with the customers. We'd have customers driving right into a bay. And then you'd have customers going straight up to our technicians and asking questions. And after a year, as I got more comfortable with myself and the business and just learning on my own, these are things that I just wanted to change. So I made the decision to go out on my own. But the problem with buying a shop from somebody one of the problems with buying a shop from somebody who is so much alone in how they do business is they're the face of the business. So when they disappear or retire, you have to rebuild trust quickly with customers. And inevitably, you're going to lose a big portion of those customers because the person that they do business with is no longer there.
So talk to me about how you're building trust and how you're putting some of the new SOPs in place and the processes in place. And let's focus in on what it is you're doing now at AutoWits and now that you've made it your own, and what's the experience been like for the customer and for you?
We've had positive and negative. At the beginning, I fired a lot of customers and it wasn't pretty and it was very stressful. But setting those boundaries is hard.
Sure.
So we did lose customers just because I think I had a lot of customers that weren't a good fit for how I wanted the direction that I wanted to take the new shop. It was a real struggle. It still is. Like we're only this happened in June and we're maybe 7 months past it or 6 months past it. So I'm still coming back. The reality is I don't recognize a lot of the customers that come into the shop right now. A lot of customers are new. We have I would say, and I don't want to put an asterisk next to everything that I say, I'm still a brand new shop owner. So I'm probably making all the mistakes that veteran shop owners are going to point out and say that's a mistake. But I don't claim to know anything about auto repair shops yet, but I'm learning.
One of the things before you continue that I just want to encourage you on is we have a lot of people on the show. We talk to a lot of people in this industry, man. Everybody that's been here has been super encouraging. They're not quick to point out your faults and beat you up over them. They are quick to give back in this industry. And I think that this industry is going to welcome you with open arms. And everybody started where you're at, man, as a new business owner, and they've learned all the lessons.
I appreciate that.
You're learning fast.
Put myself out there as a place. I don't want to put myself out there as like an authority on the information. This is just my journey. And
that's what we're here for, man.
If people disagree with how I'm doing it, I'm still going to do it the same way because I'm going to learn it on my own. People told me not to do Turo. And I think that was a great learning experience. People told me I'm an idiot and I lost a lot of money, but dude, I learned a lot too. So I just don't want to position myself as a person who knows everything, but I'm still going to do it.
Yeah. Well, I think that's important. As entrepreneurs, like I mentioned earlier, we have a higher risk tolerance. And we also tend to have a little bit of an ego that goes with that. We got to try it our way to find out if it's going to work or not. If entrepreneurs didn't go out and try it their way, we would all have businesses that look exactly alike and the customer wouldn't get the experience they need at the end of the day. Yeah. I know one of the things is as we were talking on our prep call, you were not shy at all about the target or the big goals that you have for the future and that you're setting up through that EOS system. 33 locations, 100 million in top line revenue, 15% net. Most shop owners don't want to even say those numbers out loud. I don't know if it's superstition or they're not thinking that big or whatever, but for you, why is it important that you're thinking that big? How do you keep that long-term vision in mind as you're going forward?
I read a lot of those books like Traction. What was the one that came before that? E-Myth. I read a lot of, and everybody who does this successfully have big goals. Yeah. And I believe in a lot of sayings too, is aim small, miss small. And then what's it called? Speaking it into existence.
Manifesting.
Manifesting. So it is scary, I guess, a little bit. I don't know. I've gotten over that aspect of it. It's scary to put like myself out there and say, I want to do this. And people just, you're not going to do that. I haven't had that, by the way. Like when I tell people, no one's been like, you can never do that. You can't do that. And here's why. People are just like, oh, that's cool. So I haven't had too much pushback, but I don't really care if I do. So it does make a lot of sense. If you think about it, if you don't set that target and you don't think about that target with every decision that you make, you're not going to be making decisions that are going to scale to that target. So you have to have that end game in mind, and you have to have everyone on your team aware what that end game is so that every decision that you make is getting you closer to it. And I haven't done it, but it just makes sense, like logically speaking. Because if I didn't have that, then people are just going to do discounts the way they want to do discounts. So they're not going to understand why I want them to document the process of what they're doing. And then they're not going to understand why I want to make it so that we can teach this exactly to the next person who fills their position. But if they all know what we're trying to do and they know we're going to try to step out of those roles and put someone else in them, and that person has to do it exactly the same way that you're doing it, then it's easier for them to understand and buy into.
So does that mentality come from your athletic days, your basketball playing days, with having that big goal, that big vision in mind? Or is that something that came earlier and just you've always had with you your whole life?
No, I think it's newer. I don't know. Yeah, I've always had big goals. I don't know. I think I've always had them. I don't think it came from basketball though.
Okay. Yeah, it seems to me playing professional ball sounds like a pretty big goal. And you set out to hit that when you were at an age. That's not a decision you just figure out in your 20s. You start working in your teens to become the caliber of player to play professional ball.
Yeah.
And you can't jump right to owning 33 shops either. Talk to me about how you're building your Scottsdale location with AutoWits right now as the prototype for what your big visions are.
We're trying to write down our whole sales process right now. So we're trying to identify sale opportunities. So we just added like a secondary sale opportunity that I think most shops already do, but it was something new to us. And it's like when we get a car in, we always do an inspection. The inspection goes to the service writer. The service writer builds an estimate, shares the inspection and the estimate with the customer. He gets that initial sale approved work. Then the step that we added would be that approved work goes to the technician. Before the technician starts work, they research the procedure. They identify any parts that come off along the way or become easily accessible within, I don't know, we have to dial it in with how much extra time is allowable. But we're going to, before we start work, the technician is going to also send my service writer a list of the parts that are coming off and the parts that become easily accessible. And the goal from that is letting the customer know that for no additional labor, we're taking these parts off. So we could save you time in the future, especially if you're higher in miles. Like these parts that are coming off already have 70 to 100,000 miles on. They show a little bit of wear, but it's not something that we would have done initially. If you want to do it right now, we can do it for just the cost of the part. That sounds good. We'll get those ordered and get those taken care of. It's not going to put you back at all in your time, in your delivery. So like we weren't doing that before. And since we started doing that 2 weeks ago, we've had 10 additional sales from it with multiple parts in each sale. So it's something that we weren't doing. And the GP, I think, goes straight to our bottom line because we're already paying for the technician's labor time. There's no other costs except for my service writer doing a little extra research, but he's there anyway.
Yeah, I think that's great. I love that kind of look, while we're here mentality. It's actually a service to the customer to let them know, look, you don't want to have to pay the labor rate twice on this. While we're in there, let's go ahead and take care of some of these regularly scheduled maintenance items that we're going to have to do anyway down the road.
Yeah.
So it's good for business. It's good for the customer. I think it's a great approach all the way around, man.
Yeah. So we're doing that. So we're writing it out. We're documenting the whole sales process from the service writer's perspective, and then the technicians roll in it. And I'm bringing the techs into my management meetings. We buy lunch for the guys every Thursday, and we go through all this stuff. And I named that secondary sale, and I gave it a name, and we have a written procedure. And now I give the guys $20 if they can recite it to me. So
ingrain it into the culture. I love it.
So that's this, and then we call it, and then I call it artichoke. It's a terrible acronym and it makes no sense, but like we've gone too far with it. So did you get any artichoke bucks today? Yeah. So they all know what it means now.
There you go. I love that. And sometimes it's a silly little name that makes things stick. I know one of the things we talked about on the prep call again was that building out of the culture and productivity, hiring slow, firing fast. What's been the most important piece for you so far that you've learned leading people in the shop environment versus leading teammates on the court or even leading your family?
With your family, you don't get to choose who's on your team.
No, you don't.
I don't really like it. Like when people say this is a family, I feel like it's weird and icky. I don't know. It works for some people. It doesn't work for me because I can't fire family. But what I tell the guys, and this, I guess, is a sports reference. I don't remember ever using it on a sports team, but I just say, we're not a family. We're a very highly functioning team. We're going to be a championship team. We haven't won any championships yet, but that's what we're building. I want elite performers on my team, only elite performers on my team. I want to like all of the teammates, but if you're not performing, then you don't have a spot on this team. And so if you're going to join us, and this is usually in the interview process that I say this, these are the core values. These are what I expect. I want bangers, but I want culture more. So if this doesn't align with you, or you think that you might not fit, don't come here because you won't last. I will let you go. And so I don't like saying it's family, it's a team.
Yeah. And I think that's a really important distinction. It's very hard to fire family. I know a lot of shop owners, we have family owned and operated shops on the show all the time. And one of the things that they mention most often is that there's some hurdles when it comes to dealing with family. And I think by keeping it a team environment, the way that you're talking about, you save yourself a lot of heartache and headache down the road.
Yeah.
I know that there are a lot of shop owners listening to the show and other guests that we've had on the show who get stuck in kind of survival mode. They're afraid to say that big goal out loud, unlike you. What are some of the final thoughts or words of encouragement that you'd share with any business owners who feel like they're playing too small and they're not sure how to step into a bigger game?
I don't know if I'm at the position yet to give advice to other shop owners. Like, circle back to me in a year and then maybe. But seriously, I don't know. I'm figuring it out. And just because I have a goal doesn't mean I've succeeded in anything yet. But what I will say from my Turo business is I lost almost as much money as I ever made in a year with my Turo business.
Okay.
And I'm still surviving. So losing money to me isn't that big a deal, because I can always make more money, which I did that year. I had other stuff going on. So to me, losing was almost a step in the right direction, because it showed me that I could fail and still fail forward. It showed me that I don't need to be that concerned with failing. So for me, I guess I would say failing isn't that bad, because you learn a lot through the process and like other doors open just from trying.
That's a very insightful response, very humble response. And I think you've made a big step already in terms of setting a goal. I think there are a lot of shop owners who get 20 years in business or more, and they're turning wrenches every day. They're not thinking big vision for their business. And I know that there are people on the show who have said that it's important to set that goal, and they wish that they would have done that sooner. So you're not far behind. I think you have a lot to offer there. And the other thing I wanted to point out too, for anybody who might be listening, is we all have to pay for knowledge. Some people pay to go to school. Some people make a business mistake. But no matter what, nothing comes for free in this life. We're not just born with the knowledge that it takes to run a successful business. Yeah. And you've got a different approach to getting the knowledge. But I think that fail fast and fail forward mentality that you have is really important. It allows you to capture knowledge and move forward at a much faster rate than other people.
I'll tell you, if I didn't have a basketball scholarship, what I would have paid for the degree that I got, I don't have any of that knowledge from that degree that I paid for. But I learned a lot more with that failed Turo business, and it cost about the same.
And it happened faster. Instead of 4 years to get the knowledge, you did it in about a year.
I don't know if that's a good thing, a bad thing. I don't know if that helps people or hurts, but that was my experience, and that's my mentality. So I don't go home and cry tonight. But yeah.
Something we ask everybody that comes on the show: the word "honest" is important to us with the Honest Garage podcast. I own Honest Mechanic Marketing. When you hear the phrase like "honest mechanic" or "honest shop," "honest garage," what does that mean for you personally? And how does that show up in what's going on with AutoWits in the day-to-day?
One of our core values here is honesty. So I don't want to be, so an honest garage, I guess to me would be a garage focused on a customer's lifespan with you. They're focused on not the initial sale, but the lifetime value of a loyal customer. So I think that you can run, and this is just me being new, right? But I feel like there's two ways to operate it. You can get people into your shop. You can lock the car in your garage. You can sell once you just get one thing, get the car in the garage, then you sell. Or you can show people everything that's wrong with the car, because that is the honest condition of the car, right? Like, you should show them everything, and then you should talk and then give them the estimate, because you don't know everyone's situation. People might love that car. It might have been given to them from their father, and they're going to keep it forever. And they might not have any, like, the amount of money to fix a car means something different to me than it means someone else. So just give them the opportunity to fix everything. And if they don't want to, talk to them, be like, what are you doing with this car? If you're selling it in a week, then let's take care of that check engine light. if you want to prioritize, let's take care of these things now, and then we can watch these to the next oil change. So I want to show everybody the honest state of their car, but then tell them, work with them, prioritize with them, show them, what's important now, what can be pushed off, and then try to build trust.
Yeah.
And then focus on having that customer as a repeat customer for the lifespan of however long they keep that car. Or if they get a new car, they're going to take it to you for a pre-purchase inspection, and then you'll get to fix the new car too.
Yeah, I think that's great.
And then there's a long-term play, and I think that's like the honest way is the long-term play.
Yeah, and I think from a business perspective, it makes the most sense too. Is the more you drive a car, the more it's going to need. So the more often you'll see it later down the road. But if you don't make the customer feel comfortable the first time it comes in, you don't get an opportunity at the rest of the business down the road either. And I think that's a really good way to focus on that term, honest garage, honest mechanic, as you're building it, is that we're looking at the lifetime of the customer and what's best for them as opposed to what's best for short-term profit for the business.
But I don't know if it's pushback, but I do see a lot of successful businesses run it the other way too, which is crazy to me. I guess they just spend a ton of money in marketing, and then there's just enough people out there that they can just continually sell as much as they can in one visit and stay in business. I feel like they're successful as well. I don't know.
Yeah, I can tell you from experience in marketing after doing this for years for a lot of shops, it is a lot cheaper to keep customers happy and retain them for the long run than it is to go out and pursue new customers every time to keep the business full. I think healthy businesses have a combination of new and repeat customers, but if I had to pick, even as the marketing guy, I'm picking repeat customers all day long. So I think that I'm of the same mind as you. But listen, before we wrap up today, I know that we've talked about a lot of good stuff, and there are people who might want to reach out to you and make a connection. That's one of the great things that we've seen happening on the show so far is we're building a really engaged community of shop owners who like giving back and helping each other. Before we wrap up, what's the best way for people to connect with you, learn about AutoWits, and just stay in touch?
I need to work on my LinkedIn profile. I haven't done too much on that, and I suck at that. I just deleted my Instagram because I get caught in the scroll and it just wastes my day.
Okay.
So, that's a good question, man. I think you can reach out to me through the website, through AutoWits.com. And then if you just say, hey, I just wanted to talk to Alex, then I'll give you a call. I don't know. Does that work? Or I really don't have any social pages that people can reach out to.
No, that's great. From what it sounds like, everybody who's listening, AutoWits.com and ask for Alex. Your service writing team is doing a really good job of getting those messages to you. That's how we were able to reach out.
Nice to see him too. If you send the message through AutoWits.com, it goes straight to my phone. So I'll see it.
That's great. Yeah. I appreciate that. Yeah, I just think that there are going to be some people who want to connect with you after hearing this episode, and I want to make sure that they can get a hold of you and continue the conversation and go deeper than we have time for on a single episode of the show. So if you're out there and you got value from today's conversation, please share this with another shop owner. Subscribe so that you don't miss future episodes. Leave us a review for the show. It helps a ton, the same way that it helps you and your shop grow your business. We really want to help future shop owners and current shop owners find the show and build this community out. It helps more honest shops find us and elevate themselves in their communities. Obviously, for more resources or marketing help, you can reach out to us anytime at honestmechanicmarketing.com, and we'd be happy to have a conversation. But again, just one more time, big thank you, Alex, for being on the show today and being willing to open up about your story and share your perspective on the industry and opening AutoWits and doing things your way. And everybody, thanks again for listening. As always, keep it honest in the garage.
Yeah, I mean, it's okay. It's okay to struggle. It's the human experience. Embrace the suck, as people said. And if somebody is struggling, anybody's gonna offer you help or whatever, take it. Don't be stubborn. And I guess the biggest part of it, or the one thing I would say, is that I will guarantee, without a doubt, if I can say any guarantee my entire life, life is better on this side. You know, you got to like the cars. But that's a whole other podcast about cars and Americana. And I used to do a show on the cars that built America. Okay.
There we go.
So yeah, it's you got to be a car guy that, like I said, with enthusiasts. That way, it keeps everybody engaged. It keeps everybody driven. Now, yeah, there's clients and stuff that come in here that know way more than I do, no doubt about it. But we try our best to have the knowledge and to bring it all together so we can try to answer the questions. And back to the main thing, to meet your needs.